What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eichmann. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence. Daniel Felt, owner of Cura Homes. Thanks for coming out, joining us here on Homegrown Hustle Podcast, out of Abracadabra headquarters in Forest Lake, Minnesota. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks again for coming on. So we're just talking a little bit about Daniel's background. For those of you that don't know Daniel, he's been in business. How long have you been in business now, Daniel?
Yeah, I've owned Cura Home for 8 years.
8 years, and really just an impressive individual. A lot of pushing the limits, triathlons, things like that. So right off, I just want to start and ask, what really motivates you, Daniel? How do you just have that drive in so many different areas?
That's a really great question. I have asked myself that.
I didn't prep you for that
question. I think I grew up in a family of 6 kids, and when you're in the middle of 6 kids, I think you naturally become competitive, very competitive in sports, board games. As a young kid,
what number are you?
I'm number 4 of 6.
Okay, I'm 2 out of 6, so yeah. I know what just.
So you're there with me. And you just kind of become competitive. If I lost a board game, it was really, really frustrating for me in my teens. It drove me nuts. So you become competitive. And then eventually I was really fortunate. I actually went to a leadership camp, which at the time when my cousin invited me to a leadership camp as a 16-year-old, this is so stupid. And it was a sympathy thing. I'll go with you so you're not alone. There was 16 kids at this leadership camp. Anyways, we went through this thing and we wrote down our goals, and they wrote down goals by decades. And it was faith-based, fitness, family, finances, a lot of F's, and super focused. And at the end of that week, I wrote down all these goals that I wanted to achieve. And some of it was, run a marathon at one point. At the time, that seemed impossible because if I ran 5K, I'd get shin splints horribly. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually you figure it out and, you get that done. And I think when I tell the story, people are like, oh yeah, whatever, write down a goal. I wrote down a goal that by the time I was 30, I really wanted to own a hobby farm. I grew up on a farm, thought it would be really cool. Mm-hmm. And on my birthday is August 29th. And on August 16th, the year I was turning 30, I bought a hobby farm. So it all kind of came together between my finances, my marriage, and all these things. And it's is that coincidental? Or is it because you wrote it down, you had something that you focused on, you're looking at your goals.
Focused on it in your mind.
Right.
Just made it happen.
Yeah. And so I think writing down your goals is a huge thing. But the other thing that I am really, really focused on is on a small level, it's your Christmas card. A lot of people send out Christmas cards. And back in the day, when people sent you a Christmas card, they would write down, here's everything our family did that year. And we sent out a Christmas card, and it's just a cute little picture of our family and our kids, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think of it as a way as if I was going to write down my accomplishments this year, and I was going to send it to all my friends and all my family, am I proud of that or not? And when you're sitting there in February, March, April, you're thinking about the end of the year, what am I getting accomplished this year? Is that something cool or not? Am I going to write home and be I built a birdhouse is the big thing I did this year? It's
so is that something that you took from that leadership camp, or is it where did that come from? Because that's a really unique way of thinking about it that I don't think I've ever heard.
I'm not sure. I think I heard that in a book one time, and I kind of made it into my own little kind of a Christmas card analogy. Mm-hmm. But then I spread it out even farther, and I think of and I look at it in 2 different directions. If I look back 5 years ago, and I go back and I could talk to Daniel 5 years ago, and I said, hey, here's what you're doing now as a 34-year-old, would I be proud? Am I someone wow, that's cool stuff, man. You're doing sweet. Am I proud that I got a few kids? Am I proud that when I come home, my wife says, welcome home, I love you? What are the things that you're proud of? And then you flip that around and be what do I have to be doing today so that the guy in 5 years is really proud of what I've got going on? So you zoom out, because all of a sudden, life just keeps on, getting faster and faster and faster. There's actually an analogy on that of when you're 3 and you're driving somewhere, it takes an entire day to pull up north of the cabin. It's because that's such a large percentage of your life. And now each minute becomes a smaller percentage of your life, and time just speeds up more and more and more. So you have to be very aware, very focused that if you're not accomplishing those goals, and if you don't take time to set that down, like we run on EOS, we're writing out our 5, our 3, our 1 year goals, and we're focusing on that every single week. Are you getting it done? Yes or no? And are you making yourself proud? Because sometimes you can't sit down the other day and turn the TV on, you didn't get your crap done. I would not be proud of myself in 5 years if I sat down tonight and watched TV for 4 hours.
So obviously you all can tell that Daniel's a pretty deep thinker. Let's go to that leadership camp when you're 16. So take us to kind of the months following that, and how you took what you learned, that framework of setting goals, and you started the habit of doing that. Because it seems like you do that in every single part of your life ongoingly, and it's just kind of expanded as far as where the goals are, the places you have to put them, right? So you're 16. What's going on in Daniel's life after leadership camp?
Yeah. I think the big thing for me, I grew up in Litchfield, Minnesota, and Litchfield marching bands are a really big deal. And everyone else was like, marching band's super nerdy, whatever. In Litchfield, it was like the cool kids were on marching band. Yeah, it was cool, right? And I really wanted to be a leader in marching band. And that was one of the goals that I wrote down. I actually wrote down that I wanted to be the drum captain, which led the drum line. But then I ended up becoming actually the drum major, which leads the entire band, because I was a better leader than I was drummer. And so that worked out. And I also had a goal of I wanted to win the 200-yard freestyle in the state championship. That was a goal that I wrote down. Now I missed that. I didn't win the championship in the 200-yard freestyle. I won it in the 200-yard freestyle relay, which is really interesting because it showed me as a team, as an individual, I wasn't fast enough to get the championship there. But however, when I worked together with my teammates, and the night before, a lot led into that, I changed my diet. I started going to the gym early in the mornings my junior year. My senior year, I actually was captain not captain, I don't remember, they were a helper on the girls swim team, and I'd actually swim with them as a rabbit. So I would push the fastest girls. So by the time I come into the winter season...
Were you doing that to train?
Yeah, yep. I'm already in great shape. And changed my diet. Everything was crazy hyper-focused. And literally the night before the state championship, I sat there in the hotel room with my 3 roommates, or my teammates that were going to compete in the freestyle, and we talked about exactly what's going to happen in that race tomorrow. It's a 1:21 race.
You visualize it. Yeah,
we visualized the entire thing. In depth. Yep, and I was the first guy to go, and I was racing up against a guy who was the champion in the 50-yard freestyle. I'm going to be at least an arm length behind this guy. He's way faster than me, but we can't get down then. And so it's Tom, this is your job, and Tim, this is your job, and here's where we're going to be, and you have to get the number 4 guy. You guys got to be touching at the same time that when the third person comes in, because our 4th guy is our fastest, and he's going to win it for us. And literally, it happened exactly as we said it was going to. It was like clockwork, and it was
again the same thing. You hold it in your mind, and then just go get it.
Yeah, but when I was 16, coming out of sophomore year of high school, I wrote a goal that by the time I was senior, I was going to win the state championship, and it happened. I wrote it down. I still have that piece of paper. I can find it, and if that was what I wanted for that decade of my life of 10 to 20. I wanted to win a state championship.
So, what did you do in those last 2 years then?
The last 2 years?
Yeah. You didn't graduate when you were 20, right?
Yeah. No, little things it was hey, what do you want to do? I wanted to swim collegiately. I ended up doing that. I was walk on at D2
Cisco
in Mankato for the first few years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so little things
about you. I'm learning so much here.
Yeah. So, it's been, so you just write down different things, and it's all there's all these different categories in your life that you can be focused on. And if you kind of focus on the F's of faith, family, fitness, finances, future, what do you want something, and you just start writing down some details on that. Everyone has different goals. There's not a right or a wrong one, but just simply writing down your goals and knowing where you want to go keeps you so focused through the bumps and, all the flat tires.
It makes the decision making easier, right? 100%. Having that destination now. I mean, we might not know every single turn of the journey, but as those turns or those decisions come up, now it's the thought is, does it get me closer to or farther from the things I'm trying to achieve?
Correct.
So one thing that I found is really unique about you in the time that I met with you is your the laser focus that you have, right? And the whole shiny thing syndrome, it's not something I've seen Daniel get distracted with in the time I've known him. Have you ever had that type of moment, a shiny thing? If so, how do you handle it? Because I think you
you process it in a way that could bring a lot of value to anybody listening.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like looking back at what's your goal, what's your mission here? Is it beneficial to that, or is it taking away from it? So, shiny object might be a new vehicle. Okay, is this getting me closer to my goal or farther away? Now, sometimes for a business owner, if you're listening, buying a new vehicle, it helps alleviate some of your tax liability. Okay, is this helping you make more money? There's always different checks and balances in that, and so it's really balancing that out. Sometimes it's really hard separating the difference between a want and a need. Do I really want this? Do I really need it? There's also a huge balance between like, I'm working really hard. I deserve this. There's always balance. So it kind of comes down to self-discipline, which is a whole another topic about, how do you build your self-discipline to,
especially for like a teenage boy too. Like you're doing that in those teenage years. When did you first find that you wanted to go into business for yourself? Like, take us to that moment.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on a hobby farm. My parents raised and sold golden retriever puppies. I got into horses at a really young age.
What do you mean got into them?
Like I begged my horse. I begged my parents for a horse from like the age of like 4 on, and when I was 11,
you wanted to be a cowboy.
Oh, big time!
John Wayne.
Yep, big time.
Yeah.
And
favorite John Wayne movie? Ready to go?
I don't even know. There's so many of them. Yeah, there's so many of them. But for me, so I got a horse when I was that kid, super spoiled. And I helped out a lot with the business, but I got a horse for my 11th birthday. So kids not going to stop asking for this. And I would negotiate. I'd be like, I don't need a Christmas. I don't need an Easter basket. I don't need anything. I just want a horse. And like, we're going to go for like 5 years of gifts. I negotiated with my parents on this stuff. But I got a horse, and pretty quickly, the horse was like too chill. Like it was like not like it was so you could like pull its tail, walk underneath it. It was
like a dog.
Yeah, it was just like so calm. So then I actually saved up my money, and I bought, our neighbors had horses that they hadn't rode for a long time. They were actually going to just sell them to like the meat price. So I bought the horse at meat price, trained them, and sold them to other forage kids. And I started doing that as a job. I would buy them in the summer when my parents.
You're hustling horses.
Yeah, yep. I'm buying and flipping horses. And I would do it.
I've never heard of that one before. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very.
It's fascinating to me.
Not very profitable.
It's such this tiny little. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Not very profitable. Don't recommend it for today's age. But as a kid who, there's really no overhead, because I'd buy the horse. People would be like, oh, you're like 13. Like I'll sell you the horse at very bottom dollar. And I would buy in the summer where we had enough pasture where I didn't have to feed them any extra hay. There's no overhead basically. I would ride them every day, very consistently for like 30 to 60 days. And I would sell them. I'd buy a horse for like $350, and I'd sell it to another forage kid for like $750, and they'd be like, "This is awesome." And the best thing, I bought a horse once for $50, and I sold it for $1,200, and it was like I sold it to a lady in a shared policy. Yeah.
So you're talking about 4-H. Tell me a little bit about what that is. I know some about it.
Yeah.
I've got some experience, but.
Yeah, 4-H, if you grew up in the country, you may know about it, but it's like basically it's a spot for kids to come in and here's something that I'm passionate about or I'm great at. It's like you can literally do anything from you can show your dog, you can show cattle, pigs, all the livestock.
It's all competition, right?
Yeah, it's all competition.
Delayed gratification the whole time because that's always at like a fair.
Yeah, it's at a fair, yep. And even if you said, well, I'm great at drawing, they have like art, they have everything. Anything that a kid could be into, it's a great spot for them to be like, hey, we're gonna work on this. Either it's getting a pig fat for the show or drawing this thing, whatever it is, they have a lot of different options there. And then you come and you present it to a judge who's an expert in that area. And they judge and you get a certain, ribbon. If you at a certain point you can actually go to the state fair then in that. And so 4-H is a very big part of that, especially in Minnesota, for qualifying to go to the
state fair. Is kind of a big deal here.
Huge, yeah.
Did you ever go to the state fair?
I don't miss it.
In 4-H, did you ever make it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we qualified for a few different things because we were showing our dogs, and they were really great. And as like a 7-year-old, people like knowing the gestation period of a dog, the the person like judging you was like, how do you know all these things about dogs? I mean, you just because my parents raced us in the business. Yeah, right. So you know all these questions.
So their business was golden retrievers.
Yeah, my mom's full-time job was raising and selling golden retriever puppies.
They still do that?
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So now that makes a little more sense in my mind, like going from seeing that in real life and you're like, I want a horse, I'm gonna hustle horses.
Yeah.
What was the next step? Or were there more businesses between hustling horses and
Yeah.
Homes.
So yeah, there was. Yep. So went to school, studied business marketing when I was at, and we had to pay for school ourselves, being one of 6 kids.
Yep.
And so in the summers, like, what could you do? I worked at a job building drain systems. Like, you build a huge tower where a semi comes, drops a drain.
Yep.
The farmer can store that. From there, they told me to get $1 raise if I would get my CDL license. So I was driving semi.
Nice.
And I was talking to my parents, and there was a huge need in her business to have someone come help train people how to train their dogs. So I grew up training dogs. Like, you could bring your dog to my parents' house, and we would train it for like 2 weeks.
Did you go to school ever?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I studied Mankato. Went for LA.
I'm just trying to figure out where all this time came from. Sorry.
Yeah, right. And so in the summers, I'd be working at this like agricultural company. But then after I was working in that and driving semi, the opportunity came up to run a business like my parents without the dog breeding. You're just training and boarding. So I would come for $100 to your house. This is like 2010, 2011. I will train you for an hour how to train your dog and give you all the tips and tricks. And all these people think like, oh, you need this dog guru. And it's really a lot of the exact same problems. It's like just people not showing their dog, like teaching in English. And I would literally use the analogy.
Daniel the dog whisperer.
Yeah. So I tell people, like, if you held a fork up to your kid's, mouth and you said, take this spoon, they're going to learn that this is a spoon, right? Like, you'd be training them that. You don't even realize you're doing it. But with a dog, if you push their butt to the ground and you say, sit, you're just training them that what this means. And now it's a matter of consistency. Just consistently showing them that when you put your butt on the ground, that means sit. So when I say sit, you sit, and I'll give you a reward. If you don't, I'm going to say, no, sit. I mean, I said that same thing like 1,000 times to these people. So I started training people. And
so you're like 20 years old at that point? And you're training, you're sitting there teaching like grown.
Yeah, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, yeah.
So that from ability to communicate with people and help people learn.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to do that at a high level to as a business.
Yeah, but even at a very young age, being involved in my parents' dog business, people come out to our home and you'd have everything from, a normal family in a minivan to people that are worth kabillions of dollars. I mean, every vehicle you can imagine.
And you'd have to communicate on all of it.
Yeah, my parents, like, I don't think they even realized they were doing this beneficially, but they would have hey, Jim and Susie are here, and we would match puppy owner. And so, when they come to the 7-week period, it would be like red collar, like all the puppies, because they're golden retrievers, they all look identical. So we'd have like the red collar, and we did individual tests, and we're like, this is the puppy that's matched. So like Jim and Susie are coming at 11 today to pick up their dog. Daniel, can you go show them, and so my mom would like intentionally stay in the house for a minute or two while I went out, and I'd be like, hey Jim, hey Susie, I'm Daniel. Did you find their place all right? And you're like this little
just
human.
Soften them up.
Yeah, right.
Mom, what's your mom's name?
Barb. Very smart person.
Barb is very smart.
Yeah. She knew it because all my siblings all have some sort of entrepreneurial thing going on. Every single one of us, and all my parents are like, well, the dog business was kind of a mistake. Like, we weren't even that intentional about it. It just like ended up being like a good thing. But yeah, they weren't even intentional about it.
So tell me about. So you're number 4. So tell me about your older 3 siblings. Like, was there one that kind of modeled something that you wanted to follow in that path or the trajectory that you've taken?
Well, originally I was like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I kind of wanted to invent something cool. Like I thought, like, in going through my teens when I was thinking, like, I originally went to school being an elementary teacher. I enjoy kids. I think they're fun and they're energetic. And hanging out with kids is fun. I love playing dodgeball with kids, whatever, Yeah. And ended up like after learning like all the politics and like all that stuff. And one guy that I was shadowing, he's like, hey, I got a problem for you. You're not going to be a teacher. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like 3.0, 3.5, whatever. And he's like, no, you'll be a teacher for like a year, but then they're going to promote you to like president or principal because your leadership
cut from the wrong cloth.
Yeah, you can't just be a follower and do as you're told in your curriculum. You're gonna buck the system. You'll be the principal in like a year or two. I was like, well, and I was thinking back like my principal being at like the football game every Friday night and the basketball game on Tuesday night. And I was like, I want to be a family guy. Like, one goal that I have and I stick to is I don't miss dinner with my family. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, like I don't want to. So I'm like, this isn't falling into where I'm at. Okay,
so you figure out you don't want to be a teacher. I feel like that's a good move for you and your family at this point. So which one of your siblings started Russell Williams?
Yeah, so my older brother.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so Boyd, my brother, he's kid 3. He started Russell Williams.
So is it all brothers? Like,
no, 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 more girls. Us boys are
so just
4 in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. So he started Russell Williams, a home service business. He started in like late 07, 08. Like the worst time he started a business, but it grew every single year consistently. So I saw him do that. And in talking to him, he's like, if you switch from elementary ed to business, he's like, you could literally do anything. You could like run a dental office with a business major. You could run a home service business. You could run the dog business. He's like, you could do anything with a business because it's so generic, and you learn so many things that you can implement that. Because like businesses are not really that different. Like Matt, if you and I switch places,
we can make it happen.
Yeah, it would take a few minutes for us to like understand like why you do this for pets and why I do this for a home, but it's the same thing. You and I basically run identical businesses. Mm-hmm. Like they're so
different.
Yes, yeah, right. Yeah, and so like you and I are probably we could benefit from reading like the same book, all of having your books in order, all that stuff. It's really so he did that, but even after that, after school, I worked for a company that sold 8 million chicken eggs a day, and my job was create standard operating procedures from the time that egg came in on a conveyor to it, from the barn. So there's production. This is the chicken producing the egg.
An egg watcher? What's the name? What was your title? I need to know.
Yeah, I was a business analyst. Yeah. So I never actually washed the eggs. I did help pack eggs so I could learn the job. Like I was in there and I'd be like in my like business casual, like button up shirt, and I'd be literally packing the eggs. And the thing of it is that the bad part, now they have robots do it, but then you, and this is not that long ago, it was like 2012. Yeah. The height of it was meant for like shorter people because a lot of people that were working there were like little Hispanic ladies, and they're like stereotypically like 5'0". Yeah, so I'm like, 6 foot, yeah, it's like bending over, yeah, and because I have to document the entire process from the time that egg comes in on the conveyor, goes to the washing machine, gets sized, gets packed, on the whole entire thing, SOPs.
Okay. So that makes sense because like I said, I've known you for a little while, and that's kind of how your brain just works.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And you went to school for that, and you were working in the formal business world. It seems like at that point.
Yeah.
Did you just not like it? Did your brother just finally convince you and you?
I did like it. I was working my way up in that company. They were having me do different, go into different categories, create more SOPs, document everything. And it was really nice because being so hands-on, when there would be like a leadership meeting, they would invite me to it because I knew what was going on in the day-to-day thing. It would be like, because sometimes leadership makes an assumption of like, here's how it's going. And I could raise my hand. I was like, actually, I was at that plant last week and this is the way it's happening. So my goal was to make everything the same, systemize it so that there are 5 plants between Minnesota, Iowa, and Colorado all ran the same, and the system would probably just work, which I had no idea was creating this perfect little training for me to do what I do now. But I loved it working there. Great people. My brother called me. He's like, hey, I'm stuck running 8 crews. I need a general manager. And he's like, you're the only person I can trust. I want you to come with me.
So you went and worked for your brother. What's his name?
David.
You went and worked for David for how long?
It ended up being 2 years.
Okay. And then what happened?
Yeah, we scaled this company like crazy. We went from 8 to 16 crews in 2 years. And the idea came up to start offering routine maintenance service. And I told him, hey, I think this is a really good idea. You should add it on to your existing business because he has all these high-end clients that are hiring for window cleaning, holiday lights, things like that. And ultimately, I remember it as he laughed at me and said it was a dumb idea. It would never work. And for me, as competitive as I am, I'm like, okay, well, I think it is going to work.
Watch me do this, David.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And he'd probably tell the story a little differently if he was sitting here next to me. But that's the way I remember it. And I kept on studying it. And there was actually a company on the East Coast that had franchised a similar concept. They had sold a few franchises, and I knew what goes into selling a franchise, how expensive that is. I'm like, okay, if you have the profit to be franchising a business and you're selling them, I know this would work, and no one in Minnesota is doing it.
Okay. So just for the sake of the rest of the conversation, can you clearly define what, quote, it is for everybody that's listening? I know what Kira Homes does and services, but talk about the things that you do for your customers.
Most definitely. At Kira Home, we visit our clients' homes once a quarter. We do everything you're supposed to be doing if you were the perfect homeowner, but no one is doing, such as cleaning your AC unit, cleaning your dryer vent, cleaning your refrigerator coil, providing and changing your smoke alarm batteries. We even do really simple, simplistic things like greasing and oiling your garage door. We do 34 different routine maintenance items that you're supposed to be doing, but people don't do. Think of a janitor coming to your home. We provide and change everything for you, from your softener salt, your filters, everything. So every home, no matter what size it is, has things that need to be done. We also offer one-time services like air duct cleaning and dryer vent cleaning.
And you do that on an ongoing service cadence, similar to pest control, where you're just coming out regularly scheduled. And people kind of check off the boxes, right, for what they want.
Yep. So when we sign up a customer, we come to your home, we walk through, and we just say, hey, Matt, Dan here with Kira Home. I'm going to show you everything that if I lived here, here's what I would do. From there, you can pick and choose the items that you'd like us to maintain. Most people end up selecting about 20, 25 of those items. And then it's exactly like a report card that you get in like second grade. Each quarter, we check the box for everything that we do for you. And then we provide a picture on page 2 through 6 of that home maintenance report.
Yeah, and that just creates like time for them. Like, all the time it takes to do all that random stuff, that's what they get back. Right?
Yep.
So David says, nope, I don't want to help. I don't want to add this super cool opportunity to Russell Williams. We're going to keep washing windows.
Yep.
So what was like the first thing that you did?
Yeah. So I gave him like my 3-month notice, and he kind of was like, okay, whatever. Then 2-month notice. I was like, hey, I'm leaving like in a month. And I had to buy my own truck. So he had to come to you, and he's like, oh, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm dead serious about this. And went out and I started talking to people that I currently knew and asking them for advice. So my very first client who signed on August 2016 was someone who was boarding and training their dogs for them. And so I called him up. I knew he was a very successful entrepreneur. And I literally just called him and said, like, what do you think of this? And we got done with our conversation, and he was like, oh, by the way, call my wife, she'll sign up. I was like, oh, perfect. And we still service her house today. So great client. And so I just started networking. And then realizing that, like, hey, like, just because you put up a website, just give a Google My Business location, that's not, because I'm working on a lot of stuff at night while I still work with my brother. Just because you have those things up, your phone isn't ringing out the hook. So I talked to my brother, and I knew he still needed help. I was like, hey, I can do estimates for you. See, for Christmas light season, I mean, they have to do an insane amount of estimates. And like a guy, if you're really hustling, you can do like 25 to 30 estimates in a day. I'll do the Christmas light estimates for you. You can pay me as like a contractor, subcontractor. However, I want to at the very end of the sales pitch, when they say like, yeah, I want to sign on, or let me think about it, whatever. When it's all said and done, and I've done everything for you, I get to say, by the way, we also have a sister company that's doing these routine maintenance items. Would you be interested in that? And by doing estimates for my brother, he's getting me in front of high-end homeowners that are paying, $800-900 for Christmas lights. I signed on 11 routine maintenance clients from August to December of 2016.
Thanks, David.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
And so he kind of got you into like that next level of running a service business, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than hustling horses and stuff.
Yeah, he taught me. I learned so much about running a whole service
business. It sounds like
business.
you helped him scale the heck out of his business, which
for sure.
I mean, coming from a family-owned business, I know how cool that is to be part of the growth of that. I also know how difficult it can be sometimes to like have to communicate with somebody that you know so deeply, at such a close level, and communicate in a different way, right? Because you really have to separate that. Can you tell me like anything that you learned through that? What was it, 3 years you said?
2 years working for my brother's company.
Like anything that you learned that might help some people going, like working with a sibling or a parent, something like that?
Yeah, I think just having very defined roles. I think a lot of times when people jump in with family, it's kind of like, oh, let's like kind of like do
this will be fun.
Yeah, like it's gonna be super fun, and like you don't get anything in writing or whatever. And granted, I did. We had a job description and stuff like that, but like it would be tricky. And if you're like the senior person in that, I would say like being willing to like let things go, and so that like maybe it's the younger sibling or the person who's like minority or whatever it is. That person respecting the fact that like this is that person's baby, like especially like for me, I was joining my brother's company, and that's his baby. Like he built it from his garage. So having that respect and just great allowances. I mean, like because it would be like we'd have like I'm not a big fighter, but we'd have like a disagreement about like a way to do something. Like midday Friday, and then like on Friday afternoon, he's like, "Hey, you want to go on the boat with me this afternoon?" I'm like, "Well, you're
still kind of a dick."
Yeah, right. But you were just like chewing me out. Like I don't want to.
So you had to learn to like.
Yeah,
that's hard, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because being out like Christmas and Thanksgiving, the only thing talking about is business. It can become exhausting, not only for that relationship, but for like the tangent relationships, like everyone that's kind of in that area, right?
Yeah.
I know we probably talk about business in my family a little more than maybe my parents and their wives would like. When you're in that first year of business, Daniel, tell me some of the things and the challenges you had to overcome. It sounds like your brother did help you both educate yourself as well as give you some of your first sales opportunities, right? What are some of the other things that maybe you had to learn the hard way and you didn't have somebody helping you out?
Yeah, I think the largest mistake I made was not saying no to enough things. In the first year of business, when you're starting something from scratch, like you need money, like you gotta make money. And so someone's like, hey, can you put a mailbox up for me? And I was like, sure. And like, I'll figure it out. You know, like that's like I grew up on a farm. I put a mailbox. So but then it would take me like 3 hours and I charge a person like $90. And it's like, okay, this is not working out. So I said yes to too many things. Eventually, luckily, I read the book, The Pumpkin Plan, which I was like, okay.
Was that like
Yep. And it basically talks about you got to trim off all these other things. Like, yeah, you have a really great idea of your business, but you got to cut off all these smaller pumpkins so you can have one ginormous big pumpkin. So sorry if I read the book for anyone, but that's the mindset on that. Yeah, spoiler alert. So that was really big for me, and I really honed in and I focused on we're just a routine maintenance company.
Just routine maintenance. So, and that was all in year one?
Yeah, well, for like calendar year, like 2017, our first calendar year, yeah. In that year, I started offering air duct cleaning because all these people were asking us. I said yes. All these people were asking us because we do dryer vent cleaning. Like, well, can you also clean my air ducts? And me, I'm like, well, air duct cleaning is kind of a joke. Like, I don't really know much about it, whatever. And then so I ordered the equipment that everyone else uses. Started using it. I was like, this is complete junk. It was getting the debris off of the vent, like, and it would just all kind of like sit on the bottom of an air duct, but it wasn't getting it out of it.
The idea of cleaning air ducts, not necessarily a clean air duct as a result.
Yeah, and when I was 16, I helped my parents build their dream home, and we did like everything ourselves. And
what do you mean, helped them like?
When we built a house on our farm, and my parents were like major DIY, so I'm talking like I skipped school to pour the foundation. I skipped school to help put like some last shingles on. I drilled every hole for the electrical. Every stage of the way, I was there helping my parents build their dream home. So like you gotta have an understanding of like the skeleton of a house, like what it looks like. So when you're cleaning air ducts in these houses, they're all pretty similar. HVAC system basically works the same way your heart works. You got your heart, which is the furnace. It's pumping things out to your trunk lines to get to different areas, and like your toes and your fingers are like these other mini little lines that are supplying air or taking air back to the front. It works the same way as blood works in your body. So when you think of it that way, it's really not that complex to clean air ducts.
Yeah, of course, made it sound super simple. Yeah. So you added air duct cleaning. Did you add it because you saw it as an easy cross sell, or were there what was the state of Kira Homes at that point when you? Because this, I mean, it could have been one of the things that was a shiny thing, right? It's a good idea. Yeah. So, what made it not a shiny thing, I guess?
Yeah, ultimately I saw a need in the market. I think the largest one was someone to run an air duct cleaning company as a business rather than like a job. And so, hey, we're going to take this seriously. We have a CRM system. We're doing all this stuff. Like you're going to get a email confirmation that you scheduled an appointment with us, all these little things. We're going to run it as a business. And so that was from the very beginning, we started running it very reputable. And unfortunately, in the air duct cleaning industry, there's a lot of people that use a low price in, high price out sales tactic, and I didn't want to do that. So I just wanted to bring an ethical business tactic way to run an air duct cleaning business. And it fit with what we had going on. And I also needed something that people were actually searching. When I started Kira Home in 2016, 18 people a month in the entire Minneapolis-St. Paul area were Googling routine home maintenance. Of all the millions of Google searches, 18 of them. So I'm having to educate people that hey, here's a business. By the way, you need it. It's really struggling. For you guys, pest control, I've got a freaking bat in my house. Who's gonna answer the call, right?
Yeah. It's been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah. So for air duct cleaning, at least now I have the upper hand. If I can do a really great job cleaning air ducts in people's homes, I can tell them about my other services and I can get my foot in the door.
So as a lead source for the routine maintenance, that makes a lot of sense. We use, wildlife is a very similar thing for us. Outside of it being a completely different business from pest control, it is a really good lead source. And to the customer, they just want relationships a lot of times, right? They want to find a company they can trust. They don't want to get taken advantage of. There's lots of what call themselves companies, but sometimes just guys running around with vacuum cleaning air ducts, and you got to differentiate yourself from that, right? So you differentiated it with a level of professionalism, and then that once you demonstrated to the customer, hey, we're a good company, and now the propensity of them to purchase a new service increases even more, right? Because now the level of trust that they have with you and your brand, it goes up at that point. So when I met you, what was it? Maybe 2021, 2020?
Yeah, right in there. Yeah.
Got introduced from somebody through BNI, and at that point, you were ready to take over the world. I remember we met at Pizza Luce, right? Pizza Luce.
Yeah, or
the line,
right
the line was out the door for Chipotle, so we went to Pizza Luce.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to be in every single state. We're gonna, I don't know. You said you wanted to like donate $1 billion in charity in your life, like something like that.
My goal is to donate $100 million to charity before that.
Yeah, that's. I can almost guarantee it's going to happen, everybody. So anyone looking for donations, hit up Daniel Felt. So what was going on in your mind, kind of in that era? Because I think you were in 5 or 6 different states, right?
Yep.
So tell me about like that part of Kira Homes and like the timeline.
Yeah, we had grown in Minnesota. It was doing really well, and as entrepreneurs do, you look for the next big big elephant to take down. And so my brother actually, come bring him back in the story. He had expanded into the Denver market. It was doing really well for him. So Denver, when you start looking into some of the tactical facts about Denver, it's a very similar market to Minneapolis. A lot of the same things. So also you can be there in like a couple hours on an airplane if you absolutely needed to be. So we launched Denver and it was going well. Hired the right guy there. It was doing really great. So we launched Dallas. Dallas, and then we launched Austin. Dallas was like 6 months.
Okay.
But then we started doing like a new state, like a month. Like we did like Austin, and then we did Atlanta, and then we did Illinois, all within like 5-6 months of each other. It was fast. We went from like 20 employees to 52 employees in like a few months. It was very fast, explosive growth.
Escalated quickly.
Yep. And growth causes complexities, and complexities take cash to fix. And so we were just, it was really hard to like monitor these guys in other states, and like just weird things started to happen with like our quality. Like we get customer calling because we were answering all the phones at our Minnesota location. I own all these locations. And the customer would be like, hey, this guy did this thing. And we're like, oh, but like, we know how we train this person in, blah, 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 blah. And we call that guy. He's like, oh, I actually don't want to use that extremely crucial part of the process anymore, so I stopped using it. We're like, okay, well, now we have customers not happy because you're not doing the things that you said you were going to be doing. And so
quality control.
Yeah. And it was like, it got so minor of like, of like looking at your CRM system. You're like, hey, why didn't you show up to that job until like 9:45 with an 8 to 10 arrival time? He's like, I was tired. And it's like, stuff like that just wasn't happening in our Minnesota location. So it was so difficult to keep like a company culture and like hold up the brand and what we had built here. It was pretty much impossible to keep that standard across. And for me, like wanting to work-life balance and having all these other things that I want to be, doing, it was like, I just started getting rid of things that weren't making money or like bringing joy into my life. And I was like, okay, this location gone, this location gone. And it got down to, went back down to our Minnesota and then Denver locations. And then that guy, I think, kind of got nervous because we were closing a few, and he was like, he got a different job. So we actually went from, like, as fast as we went up, we operated like 12 to 18 months, and it came back down, and we switched to offering a franchise thing where it's like, hey, let's do this, where you have an owner who actually cares about it. Let's try to get that going.
So it sounds like the culture component, the human component, when you couldn't be there and in control and seeing what was going on and managing that suffered, which led into the quality control.
Yeah.
And that's all symptoms of the bigger thing, which sounds like just that distance made it difficult to continue the culture of Kira in those areas. So you went to the franchise model. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, franchise model. Everyone's like, this is, hey, the world needs this, right? I'm all pumped. I'm ready to go. The world needs routine maintenance. Start offering franchise. Well, at the end of the day, you're not McDonald's. You're not Subway. No one wants to buy your brand. And a lot of people that we're talking to are already running home service businesses. So they're like, well, so you mean I can't call this Joe's Home Maintenance? I have to call it Kira Home. What does Kira mean? I was like, oh, it's it's a cool word. It means to care for. And they're like, don't care. I just want to. Can I just pay you? People literally were like, can I just pay you to teach me how to run a routine maintenance company? I want that routine maintenance. I want that subscription-based service in my business. And I was like, yeah, but you have to call it Kira. You have to call it Kira Home. That's it's like in my head, I was so stuck.
That's the structure. You have
to call it Kira Home. That's the franchise. I have a trademark, and I built this great brand, and we got social media. Like, why don't you want this? And it was so confusing to me. Like, why would you not want this? We talked to like 150 people, sold 0. It was crazy.
Not a good close rate.
Yeah, I know. And like franchises have a really bad close rate. I mean, it's like 0.5, 1%. You have a bad close rate, but like I like to think of myself. I'm like, I'm talking to qualified people. Like we lost a ton of money trying to franchise business.
How long of a period was that where you were
about a year
focusing?
Yeah, tried to sell for about a year. Yeah.
Okay, and then so after a year, where you actually maybe didn't hit a goal that you set.
Correct. Yeah. I do fail. Yeah. I do fail.
Yeah. Let me just don't talk about those. Yeah. The wins are so much bigger, right? But the thinking big almost sets you up for those failures and those micro failures along the way. And what I've found in business and life is like, it's not about hitting it or not hitting it, but it's like when you do have a failure, like what are you going to do?
100%.
How are you going to respond? And for you, in knowing you and in the conversations we've had, it sounds like it's water under the bridge so fast. You're like, pages turned, on to the next one. Let's keep moving forward. How do you process like a failure like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not super easy, right? Because you got to like look at your goals, like what do we all accomplish? And I don't get every single goal accomplished. We fall short, but it's like, but by having that goal, we got so much closer. So it's like looking at like where, what did we do really well this year? And then what do we want to change? What are we going to do differently next year so we can have more wins, in our company, right? How can we hit that? So this didn't go that well. We didn't hit this financial goal or that, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, what do we need to change to do better? And usually like talking about those little things that changes gets everyone psyched up. So it's like bringing people around you and surrounding yourself with, networking group, who's your coach, who are your, your sphere, right? Are they people that are like, oh man, that sucks. We go to the bar and like get drunk because you didn't sell a franchise? No. I need to talk about someone about completely like a pivot and make this bigger and better. So I'm getting psyched up again about how to do this. Also, like staying great. And I don't want to go down a rabbit trail here, but like
I love rabbit trails.
So staying super healthy makes it so like, okay, I failed at selling franchises, but it's like, I'm a big guy. I'm big time into sauning, big time into cold bath, big time into like drinking the right healthy water, like all these things. And you got all these things going for you. And it's like, it's easy to do more faster, more efficiently because you're just on, like you're running at like peak efficiency, like you feel like you're 18 again, and you're like rocking and rolling, and it's like okay, we're gonna pivot here, let's go. Like my bag's packed, I'm ready to go all the time. So it's you can look at things as like, okay, we failed, we didn't sell a franchise, but then I took that, we had all the documentation, every SOP, it was all ready to go in a perfect, beautiful operations manual for franchisees, and we figured out, luckily, literally, Matt, you were in a conversation when I was talking to like 5 or 6 different business owners, and I was like, I'm so frustrated that this failed, and the idea came up like, why don't you just get rid of the name brand Cure Home?
If I remember, it was like, it's the who, right?
Yeah,
like, right. You're talking about all the people you're talking to, and it sounds like really all you had to do was change a couple words, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
just from that small little bit of time where we were around some other business owners having that conversation, this amazing micro pivot happened from a lot, like probably a bigger failure for you at that point in your mind. And then like, tell us a little bit about what happened after that. Like when you changed the who you were talking to.
Yeah, 100%. So rather than trying to find people who are trying to start a business, we talked to people that are already running a business. And we said, rather than calling it Cure Home, you call it your current business.
Bob's
keep
business.
Calling it Bob's business. And so you can't use the Cure Home name. And we'll tell you how to do everything. Here you go.
Here's the playbook.
Here's the whole entire playbook. So we're going to change from franchise to the word license, and you just can't use the word Cure Home because that makes it a franchise.
And just those tiny tweaks.
That's all we
allowed
changed.
you to sell how many licenses?
We've sold 7 licenses, and we are probably going to sell.
It's accelerating now, right?
We're selling 1 a week. Or 1 every 2 weeks right now.
That's pretty sick. So these home service business or just general business?
Handyman, home inspectors. Okay. One guy's a realtor.
So why do they want to add this? How does this help them?
Everyone wants recurring revenue. Everyone wants support. No one wants to feel alone. So they see this and they're like, okay, here's proven systems and processes. We're the only company in the U.S. with scaled routine maintenance company. There's other guys who've been doing it for like 20 years and they have like 100, 150 customers. That's great. That's awesome. Congratulations. We've been doing it for 8 years. We have over 850 plus routine maintenance clients that are paying us on average $418 a quarter, close to $1,700 a year to visit their home. So we have over $1 million of recurring revenue happening in our business. For a lot of people that are running home services business from 0 to $750 million, the thought of having $1 million of recurring revenue that your schedule is built up 2 years with recurring clients, it's a no-brainer for them. And it's like, by the way, I'm here to coach, support, and give you every single proven system and process. I'm literally private pilot, where if you don't file a checklist, you die. That's what I've implemented into my business.
So you've sold 7 licenses now. So let's talk about goals from now. So 1 year, 3 year, 5 year for Cure Homes and Daniel Felt. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. at the end of this year, my original goal was to sell 10, and then we tweaked our sales process slightly.
I'm too good at this. Let's do something else.
Well, I need to change my goal.
Yeah.
So now we have a stretch goal of selling 24 this year. Okay. My original goal is to sell 30 next year, and then 75 the year after that, and 100 like each year. So building those systems and processes in place. I need to adjust things now. Things are really rocking and rolling there. We have a training module. I mean, we've made it very easy for these licensees to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So
making those tweaks as you see things go right and or wrong, you can do your thing and improve processes. But that's a lot of what business is experimenting and then pivoting.
Yeah.
Right. So 5 years, you think you'll hit your goal of being in all 50 states?
I would be very shocked if we have
not. So would I.
Yeah.
That's kind of rhetorical almost.
Yeah. And that's a goal that I had to change of, okay, we want Cure Home to be in all these 50 states. No, we want to be offering routine maintenance services to 50 different states.
So in the time you've sold these licenses, how has that recurring business in these businesses that are often one-time services, one-offs, right? Maybe a little bit higher dollar amount, but how has that changed their business and maybe their life? Have you seen any of that change yet?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the most rewarding thing for me is like these guys are like, they don't feel so alone. Like they have someone, they've got my cell phone, like send me a text, like you having a bad day or whatever. These guys do have bad days. Crap happens. So I think, that's been really nice for me is like just seeing business owners who are now, they're energized, they're ready to go, they're feeding off my energy. They're, hey, let's rock and roll. From a financial standpoint, they're all improving every single month, and it's awesome. And some of these guys are being stubborn. They're like, I'm not going to spend any money on marketing. Okay, we've got tactics for that. And they're doing it. Within like 7-8 months, they're at $10,000 a month in recurring revenue. Like they're rock and roll. And
that's cross-selling, right?
Yeah, cross-selling. So here's my I'm running a handyman business. I'm going to just start telling clients about this portion of our business. And it's working really, really well.
That's amazing. So now next month is easier because you don't have to go out and sell a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. When you sell it, it's there.
Yeah.
And it's there as long as you maintain the level of excellence and service that the customer is expecting.
Right.
And I know, Kira, you guys always go above and beyond, so I can expect that's what's happening with these other service companies.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Is there a level of vetting prior to a license going out? Like, it has to be a quality business. Does that go into it, or?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like you're still calling it Bob's business,
yeah.
and so for us, it's coming down to like, do we feel like is this going to be worth it? Like we've told people, like we just don't think it's going to be a good fit. Like we've had some people like they're looking for a franchise. It's like someone who they have to do like a 1031 exchange, whatever. They're looking for like a hands off, like let me just put the Subway name on my sandwich and let it run with a manager. It's like that's not who we are. So we do tell some people through our conversations and sales process, hey, I gotta be honest with you, this is probably not the best fit. And they're like, what? They're mind blown. Like, you don't want to take my money? It's like, no, I don't think you're gonna be happy. So that's what that's why I'm having so much fun. We're working with 7 people who are like, they're excited.
Well, and that goes back to one of the earlier lessons, like learning when to say no, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You've identified, okay, this isn't going to be a good use of my time. It's not going to serve this person very well.
Right.
So let's just save everyone the time and effort here.
Right. I enjoy falling asleep at night a lot. It's really nice. And they're currently
sleep is good.
Yeah. It's a little thing.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So can we talk just a little bit about like what you're doing with social media? Because like you put your focus into something and it happens, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about like your journey in social media and how that's impacted your home service business. Because I know a lot of companies out there that are direct search terms, they're pay-per-click type of top or bottom of funnel companies. Like they don't believe in social media because it's farther from the I need this part of that customer's life. So like, tell me about the social media strategy and how it's impacted your business.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an exclusive.
I'm
going to give you an exclusive here.
You heard it. You're going to hear it first on the Homegrown Hustle here.
So it's coming. You got to wait. So we started posting on social media consistently every single day. We're gonna put a post. In the very beginning, it was like I put on repeat every 90 days, whatever. Then I realized, hey, like this is actually like the people that we want to be working with are spending a lot of time on social media. The current stat is the average American spends 2 hours and 32 minutes a day on social media platforms. The average person in America, 2.5 hours a day. So we started posting every single day and trying to like, how can we get more people following our stuff without putting money into it just organically? It's free for me to take a selfie quick and say, hey, everyone, Danny here with Cure Home. Today we're cleaning air ducts. Look how gross this is. We got skin cells, pet hair, blah, blah, blah. So we actually started to just like look at like, hey, admittedly, when I see like Dr. Pimple Popper or whatever, and you see this like gross thing, you're like, it's so gross, I can't look away type deal on like social media.
Yeah.
Because like, why don't we copy that with the home maintenance side? Because we see so much nasty stuff every single day. And we started copying that same thing. So over time, by being insanely consistent, we have grown our social media. We've got like 34,000, I think, on there. We've been featured on Business Insider because we were posting consistently. We have large companies.
It just took one person to see it.
Yep.
Like, this company.
Yeah. Yep. So insanely consistent, posting on 8 platforms: Google My Business, Facebook, TikTok, all the things. 8 platforms every single day. It has generated an insane amount of business for us. So much so that then we started getting people asking us, "Hey, how are you doing this?" And we have started a social media management company.
Sick.
Called Constant Social.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Constant Social. This is new.
Yeah, Constant Social. Only heard here. We have not publicly announced it yet. We have paying customers. We're up and running. We will take content and help you strategically build it. If you give us one day, we can post content for 2 to 3 years from your business, following current trends, best times to post, all that stuff, and we're posting it on all the social media platforms for you using the tips and tricks, tactics that are currently using. So and literally telling Google and telling all these things like, hey, I want to work here. Like, I want to clean a dryer vent in Forest Lake. So we're using all from a SEO standpoint, from a social media. Social media is becoming a really big part of SEO, and just being insanely consistent. People in their 20s and 30s now, if they're going to hire a business, they look at your social media. Like, hey, Google reviews, great. You got 105 stars. Perfect.
It's a source of truth.
Yeah. Right. Where's your pulse? Oh, you haven't posted since 4th of July when you put like a picture of American flag. Okay, are you still in business? Because that was 7 months ago. And so being very active on there tells people, okay, great. If you're super active on here, you're probably active. I'm going to shoot you a call. It's just building trust amongst people. And so, yeah, we have people, several companies that are now paying us on a monthly basis to create and post social media content for them.
Because they see the value and also the quality that you put out, the proof of concept there.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be in front of 20, 30, 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, you want them as your customers, which is like a huge chunk of like the paying customers today, you've got to be active on social media. Like, you can't ignore it.
Yeah. Well, and like it's free. Like you said,
it's free. It's free.
Like, you can use somebody like Constant Social that has like content strategy, and actually it sounds like you're deploying it for people and businesses as well. So like you can outsource it, but also like anyone trying to grow a business, like it's not going anywhere, right? The only thing that might change is there might be a new platform that now becomes the trend, the new TikTok or TikTokification of social media.
And we will stick with that. And it's like if you want to be on TV, for example, right, you're gonna have to pay every single time. Where like with some of the stuff, when we bring a customer on, within 2 months, he had a reel that hit and he got 1.1 million impressions to his Facebook page. You know how much you'd have to pay for that? He's like, yeah, this is great. I love you guys. It's like, yeah, I bet. Yeah. You got 1 million people in your network looking at your Facebook page, and it's like that you'd have to pay so much money on the paid side for that.
It's just
and that's
attention.
happening.
It's capturing that attention, right?
Exactly.
I don't even know the last time I watched television. Like I don't football. Like that's the closest to TV. But I mean, 10 years ago, that 2 hours and 32 minutes a day that somebody's spending on social media, that was in TV. Like that's where the attention was. So at that point, marketing there, it became so out of reach for small service-based businesses or growing service businesses. And now this is allowed for different strategies to come from organic content and just like being real and authentic, which is like the antithesis of what news media is. So, I really appreciate you spending some time here. We've dove into a bunch. Is there anything else you want to cover here before we wrap up?
I don't think so. If you're interested in what we've got going on,
let's talk about the Constant. So, like, how do they get in contact with the Constant Social team?
Yeah, go to constantsocial.com. You can book a consultation for us right there. We can work with anyone, any size business. If you said you want us to post for you once a month, we can do that. If you said you want us to post 100 times a month, we are currently posting to our Google My Business 100 times a week at Kira Home. So we are living and breathing all that work. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Feld. Same with Instagram, Kira Home. If you want to see cool Dr. Pimple Popper stuff, follow us there.
You've never popped a pimple on Kira Home's social media?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But
okay,
maybe.
So stay tuned,
Coming
everybody.
soon.
So one more question we typically ask everyone on here. So if you had to define the word hustle in terms of business, how would you define that?
I would say consistently chasing your goals.
Short, sweet, and to the point. Daniel, you are such an impressive individual, man. You got so many things going on. Beautiful family. We didn't even touch on that, but thank you for taking the time.
Yeah.
Thank you for being an inspiration for me and helping me get connected with people that otherwise I would have never met. Probably going to try to have you on here before because I think you bring so much incredible value to our listeners. Again, Matt with Abracadabra, host of the Homegrown Hustle podcast, shot here in Forest Lake, big purple building, Abracadabra headquarters. Thank you so much, Daniel. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eichmann signing off until our next insightful episode.